Well, the Houston Astros have done it for the first time this year in 2025, a sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to talk about, are there still concerns for a team that's trending up? Because they're moving up in the AL West standings, but there is some improvement, and we'll talk about that with Mike Stanton right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heater low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the bullpen. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse, and he is my sidekick. Actually, he's the main character, Mike Stanton. Mike, tell everybody where they can find you, sir, on social media.
Yeah, there's only one place, and that's going to be on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Stanton 29. So, did we decide? Am I Batman, you're Robin, or are you Batman, I'm Robin?
You know what? This is back to the bullpen with Mike and Brett. I put you in front of me for a reason, Mike.
Okay.
You
right.
earned that.
I appreciate that. But I'll say this. I'll be nice, at least at the start here of the podcast. How about we're both Batman?
There you go. It's like we're both Batman. No, you're not. How? He goes, I'm not wearing hockey pants. The great Dark Knight series. Good That's Lord. Right. Talking about the Dark Knight. I mean, the Rockets are trying to be the Dark Knights tonight as they are plummeting right now, the Golden State Warriors. But let me tell you, I've watched a lot of games in Toyota Center against the Warriors, and I've seen Steph Curry do his thing. So let's just hope the Rockets keep pushing. They're up 79-64. We thank you all for tuning in. This is a great show tonight. We're brought to you by State-of-the-Art Barbershop at 1616 South Friendswood Drive. Go down there, check them out, get your haircut. I got to go get my haircut this week. It is brutal. It is getting bad back here. We've got to calm some things down. And Ramsher,
are you getting the flow?
I'm starting to get the flow, man. I'm actually just going to trim it up. I think I'm going to go.
I say you go full mullet.
I am. I'm thinking about the mullet. I'm thinking about it.
Business in the front, party in the back.
Don't tempt me, Mike. Don't tempt me. I mean, the ladies are already all over me.
Oh, well, they're only human. They are only human.
They are only human. You're right. They're only human. But go to ramshirts.com as well. Check out Mark. Go tell him we sent you. Get your Back to the Bullpen shirt. Really inexpensive, really comfortable, really nice shirt. Our friend who wears not only the Back to the Bullpen shirt, but the cape and the glasses and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Mr. Gonzalez. He sent me a picture of him snoring, laid out in one of the chairs in a hospital room, and he was snoring, and he sent a picture to me and said, my mom caught me snoring, and I said, why are you sitting in a hospital chair? He goes, well, my mom unfortunately went to the hospital. She had a mild stroke, and then she got up. She was still herself. She took pictures of me snoring. And so
I'm glad she felt good enough to take the pictures.
I know. That's what I told him. I was like, well, that's
I guess the moral of the story, wearing our shirts. Is that what you?
Yeah. So okay. He was laid out wearing our shirt in the hospital.
A little drool.
And I told him, I was like, look, if you got to go to the hospital, just throw the shirt on. You got to, whatever you got to do, throw the shirt on. But thank you for your just for your support, for everybody's support. And we hit 1,000 subscribers.
Hey, all right.
We got to do some housekeeping here. 1,000 subscribers. That's awesome. Thank y'all for getting us there. Yes, Earl, we are keeping up with the Rockets game. I just mentioned that earlier. So we will keep tabs. I can't show you any live footage. I don't have the licensing to do that.
That's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
And by the way, contract. It's the NBA. I mean, all you really have to do is watch the last 2 minutes.
Exactly. Good call. So a different year is brewing, Mike. A different year is brewing. And this year started out differently than any. And we've talked about this. 2 stars leaving the Astros. This team, what kind of identity were they going to have? Pitching, who was going to step up? We've heard Joe Espada say Hunter Brown is the leader of this staff.
Sure.
He's achieved ace status, and he deserves it. Framber Valdez, year-wise, seniority, is the number one starter. But I think going forward for the future and foreseeable future, Hunter Brown's going to take that mantle because we don't know what they're going to do with Fromber.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, you look at Hunter and the way he has dominated 24 consecutive scoreless innings
Insane.
as of right now. I think he gave up a couple runs his very first inning of the season, and then from there he has done nothing but crickets. And he's doing it in a pretty spectacular way. I mean, he is shoving. He's one of the hardest throwers in Major League Baseball as far as average fastball velocity. He's top, 7 or 8 or maybe even higher than that, averaging over 97 miles an hour. Not that is everything, but that is a big time power arm. And what you're doing is when you see him, you could just look at, it's one thing to look at the numbers. It's one thing to say, okay, this guy's got really great stuff. He throws really hard. He's got good breaking stuff. He's throwing strikes. That's not really what I look at. I want to see what the pitcher looks like on the mound. Is he strutting around like a peacock? Is he feeling it? Is he a guy that is just dripping with confidence? That's exactly who Hunter Brown is right now. And that's what, and the thing is, this is the dude we've been seeing since mid-May last year? I mean, you're talking about arguably the best pitcher in baseball since he got off to that Rockies start last year. I mean, he has been, so you're not talking about a guy, you're almost talking about a full year of just absolutely shoving. And when you pitch that well for that long, you all of a sudden your confidence just goes to another level. Even when it's a start that you don't have your best stuff, it's a time that maybe you're not feeling your best. When you have that much success, you're able to go out and you're able to pitch maybe you have to pitch a little bit differently, but you're in such a great frame of mind just simply from the long success you've had. You're able to go out and just, do whatever you need to do to win. Maybe I need to throw more breaking balls today. Maybe my fastball isn't quite where I need it to be. Oh, look, my changeup really showed up today. Let's throw that. Whatever it is, in order to realize that, in order to use those, you have to be able to be in the proper frame of mind to be calm, cool, and collected and confident on the mound.
Yeah, and Ari Alexander actually did a special on him last year, and he put this out there where you were talking about May, or when he gave up those few runs or whatever.
Yeah.
May 5th is when he decided to add this sinker to his arsenal.
Yeah,
and he talked about that where he had a sinker before, but he had kind of abandoned it. And that's the thing that I've heard across the board. Mike, I've interviewed probably 10 plus pitchers in this organization, and they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
The Astros give you this encyclopedia of stuff, but then they say, okay, let's figure out what works for you.
Right.
And what we've seen you do well that you haven't done enough of.
Yeah.
And that's where I think some of the power of what Hayden Wesneski has been able to do. I think that's why they've been able to maximize who Ronel Blanco is. And the cool thing about Hunter Brown, that umpire was missing some really bad calls, some really close calls, but he would come back. If he had 2 strikes and the guy gave him a ball 3, he would fire almost 99 every time in the zone. And for you to be able to get upset and be motivated and hit that zone,
right,
that's extra special.
Yeah, controlling your emotions is everything. And that's really, this isn't for Hunter Brown. This is for, actually any player, any person doing anything you do. If you let your emotions get the best of you, usually things don't work out the way you want. Okay. And what happens in baseball is you lose your focus. You start worrying about the umpire. You start worrying about, bad defense. You start worrying about the last pitch. You just airmailed the catcher and you didn't really mean to, all those are what I call them is they're distractions. And your distractions takes away from your focus of what you're trying to do, which is execute a pitch.
Yeah.
And regardless of how good your stuff is, your job isn't to throw the ball 100 miles an hour. It's great if you can, but that's not your job. Your job is to take the ball and throw the right pitch in the right situation and put it in the right spot. You do that, you're going to be successful because hitting just isn't that easy. Now, as far as Hunter's sinker, not the biggest fan of him calling it a sinker because it's not. Fromber throws a sinker. Fromber is a ground ball machine. And listen,
True.
Hunter gets plenty of ground balls also. it's really a two-seam fastball. And what I mean by that, it's a pitch, because you're not talking about a pitch that has huge downward vertical break on it. It's got some, but it does have some pretty good arm side run. And what he's really been able to do, he's been able to jam a lot of right-handers and get them off the breaking ball away. So
Right.
in a day and age where a lot of pitchers now are pitching north and south, okay, fastballs up, off-speed stuff down, he has been able to do, which he's always been able to do that, but now he's also been able to put an east and west component in there. And now when you're talking about a guy that's got plus stuff like Hunter does, now you have him going in 4 different directions. Yeah, that makes it just that much tougher to square up.
Exactly. And that's what it's about. I mean, when we were I want to get into the hitting aspect of it, because this naturally, when you talk about pitching, you have to talk about hitting and barreling balls up. And guys like Jordan, guys like Yiner, they've just been barely missing. A lot of these guys are having career years, but in the wrong way. And of course, I know it's only 21 games,
right,
22 games, but Jordan hasn't started out this slow. But what I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, if you paid attention to the lineup this weekend, Astros fans will notice that Joe Espada shuffled the lineup and moved guys around, put Alvarez in second, and he's gotten a hit and an RBI and a single or something to contribute. He almost hit a grand slam tonight. They are starting to have success. Christian Walker sat, and after that went on to get his next 5 at bats. He was 5 for 5 and raised his average a ton. So this is what it takes when you have pitching success and you have hitting coming along. It's, I think, going to work out for these guys, because Mike, right now they're 13-11. They have a plus 11 run differential. The Rangers are 14-9. They have a minus 11 run differential. The Rangers are having issues with their offense, where the Astros offense is going up and their pitching is staying there. If they can both get those level, that's when you can win a lot of games.
Well, what happens is when you can pitch, you have a chance.
True.
And that's what the Astros have proven. I mean, they've played 24 games.
Okay, 24.
They've had 16 games this season already that they've scored 3 runs or less. Now, it doesn't, you go, well, they have won a few of those. They've actually won 6 of those. The shutout in game 1 of this series by Hunter was the 6th win. So what does that make them? 6-10. What you go, okay, that's not a very good record. Actually, that's a pretty stinking good record for that particular stat of 3 runs or less. Okay. Now they've killed it when they've scored 4 runs or more. What is that? 7-1 since
7-1. Correct.
So the pitching has done an outstanding job. And, the thing is, when you can pitch, you can win baseball games. Now, you'd love to score a few runs, but what you're seeing offensively, especially in this series, the Astros have really picked it up. The reason Joe Espada moves the lineup, moved Jordan up, Altuve has been swinging the bat well. Let's make sure that Jordan is hitting with less than 2 outs with a runner on base. I mean, that's really what you're doing. And as you get higher in the lineup, you actually get more at bats when you look at the big picture of the season. That's one of the reasons why you saw back in the day, AJ Hinch put George Springer in the leadoff spot, was because George was, you were looking for him to get better. The funny thing was, he always said the right thing. Oh, I'm just looking to get on base. Well, all of a sudden he's hitting home runs, he's hitting doubles, he's doing all these dynamic things, but it calmed him down mentally, having the idea that, well, I'm a leadoff hitter, I'm just supposed to get on base. And he ends up being one of the more dynamic offensive players in Major League Baseball at that time. So the problem, I think Jordan, one of the big problems, he hasn't swung the bat well. His timing has been off, but he's been also the guy in the middle of the lineup. We talked about this in the postseason, that Jordan is the one guy that you put the asterisk next to him and say, if this is the guy that cannot beat us.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They do the same thing in the regular season. Before every series starts, you have a pitcher's meeting and you have a hitter's meeting. In the pitcher's meeting, you go over every hitter on the opposite team. You try and figure out exactly what, who can I pitch in certain situations? If a guy is hot, what's he hitting? What's he not hitting? That kind of stuff. But Jordan is the guy that's like, okay, we're just simply not going to let this guy beat us. Now, unfortunately, fortunately for the Astros, he's been able to come up and at least get some RBIs without getting base hits, because he keeps, the key to protecting Jordan is making sure there's guys on base. It doesn't have to be just the guy behind you, but it's got to be someone that you get bases, you get runners on base in front of him. Then you have to throw him strikes, especially if the bases are loaded. Now, unfortunately, he wasn't able to drive the ball out of the ballpark, but you can see the quality of a bat that Jordan has put together, especially in this series. You're starting to see more Jordan-esque at-bats.
And what I think is key, too, is the bottom of the lineup, Mike, has been performing at a very high level. Jake Myers, I know he's kind of cooled off the last couple games. Yeah. He's going to go through his highs and lows. But you literally had Walker with 2 hits, Diaz with 2 hits. You had DeCinzo with 3 hits. DeCinzo has taken every opportunity these last couple games that he's played and just balled out. The guy's got,
I think he's 4 for 6 in his last 6 at-bats.
Yeah.
I know in what series, the first game of the series, he had 2 doubles. He had 2 hits tonight, or 2 or 3 hits tonight.
Yeah, he had 3 hits tonight. So he was
one off the closer there in the 9th inning.
Yeah. Hey, so 3 for 4 and 2 for 3 his last game. So he's 5 for his last 7.
5 for 7.
But actually, if you go back to April 14th when he last played, he was 1 for 1. So he's 6 for his last 8.
There you go.
He's hitting 368, Mike.
It's a good round number, 368.
Not bad with a 429 on base percentage. Look, I picked Zach DeCinzo to be my kind of breakout player of the year because I really thought that he would. Mm-hmm. And he just hasn't gotten the opportunity. Now, something that was interesting that Chandler Rome mentioned today, and I want to ask you what you make of this. Versatility is a word that this team has used early on.
Sure.
Namely, Altuve to left field. Cam Smith was seen taking outfield practice in center field.
Mm-hmm.
So versatility comes in. Do they envision a lineup where a hot Zach DeCinzo and Cam Smith both get in the lineup? Because Cam Smith looks like a natural out there.
Could be. I mean, maybe, listen, Cam is a big dude. Okay. And you don't usually have big dudes playing center field. Those are usually for guys that are a little bit more athletic. But, in a team that has struggled a little bit offensively,
right?
If you hot your play, that's amateur baseball, professional baseball, Major League Baseball, doesn't matter. If you're swinging the bat well, you're supposed to be in the lineup. So I think that's just one of those situations. And listen, playing center field is actually the easiest of the 3 outfield positions.
Okay.
You get the best read off the bat, because you get a clean view to the catcher. Okay. The ball coming off the bat. Now you do have more ground to cover, so there could be a physical issue as far as just how much grass you have to cover. But
right.
as far as getting a read or something like that, center field is actually I would even say it's easier than shortstop, even though shortstop is closer. It's more of a reactionary position. When you're playing center field, you have a chance to track the ball. It's not just a reactionary to the reaction to a ball being in the air. So there's a lot of places that on the field that are much tougher than center field, even though you do have so much ground to cover.
And one of the things that Cam Smith said was that he goes, although it's a little more boring out in the outfield, you get more time to react.
That's it.
He goes because he was so used to playing third base. Yeah. That's why it's called the hot corner. That's
which
why
is the ultimate reactionary position.
Oh, that is. I mean, and that's why when you look at what we lost in Alex Bregman at third base, you're like, oh, we just hope that Estock Paredes can somewhat duplicate. And Paredes, I'm not saying he's Bregman, but he has done a
He's
hell
been
of
solid.
a job at third base.
He's been solid.
Jerry, did you see? I don't know if you saw Jeremy Pena's throw. He went and got a ball that had just gotten to the grass, and he jumped and turned, and he threw a ball and beat out. Well, it was Kirk, so it wasn't like he was a speedster, but he beat him by 4 steps with the baseball. Yeah. It was an accurate throw, and I remember Jeff Blum saying, "You aren't supposed to be able to make throws like that." I mean, these guys, defensively speaking, and I know there were a couple miscues with the first base and everything,
sure.
but this team defensively has been great. Did you see the collision with Mauricio Dubon and Luis Ariz against the Padres? That we haven't talked since then. That was brutal, and I was so annoyed because all these Padres podcasters were like, that was clearly intentional. He was taking out Luis Ariz. And I'm like, yeah, because the Astros gain an advantage taking out Luis Ariz. They're like, oh, yeah, we took out Luis. Now San Diego's not going anywhere. Like,
right. If you're going to take somebody out, you're going to take Tatis out.
I mean, think about it. Because, Mike, if you saw him and you watched his reaction, he was concerned. I mean, they said, I heard from
Mauricio Dubon is the nicest guy on the freaking planet.
I know.
I mean, he's not going to do anything like that. I mean, that was just an unfortunate situation that, baseball, we say, isn't a contact sport. Well, sometimes it is. And, both players are being aggressive. Both players are trying to do their job. And sometimes, it can end. It can even look like, one player is doing something to another. In reality, there was none of that. There was none.
Yeah, no, it was a bang bang play. Yeah. You don't ever want that to happen, but apparently, from what I've heard, that he had lost consciousness for about 30 seconds and he was not aware of the play that just happened.
Right.
Now, he did come back, was kind of cool. The Padres ended up winning. Mm-hmm. He showed up in the clubhouse before they left. Now, he stayed in Houston overnight for observation. But they let him go back in the clubhouse and see the team. So I'm sure that was cool for the team.
Yeah, and I haven't checked the lineup, but I can almost guarantee that he has not been in the lineup. They have concussion protocols now.
Yes.
And I think is it 10 day, 8 day? I don't remember what the concussion IL is, because it's not exactly the same as the regular IL. But there's no doubt they don't play around with that anymore.
No, they don't.
So that Dubon deserves to be suspended. Whatever. That's
Padres fans. Hey, look. I mean, I'm sorry.
You know what? Padres fans can say that. That's fine.
That's true.
It's not going to happen, but
no. Well, it's almost like, do you remember LaCroix and Jake Marisnick at home plate?
Oh my gosh, Jake destroyed him. That was incredible.
Oh, God.
And Jake was absolutely concerned. He was standing right,
he was shattered over that.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, unfortunately, those things happen. I mean, those are
football moves. Jake was fun to watch.
He was. He was
big. He was strong. He was fast. Wasn't a very good hitter, but dude could flat out go get it in the outfield and run some bases.
Now, I haven't heard an update, and of course, I haven't really looked.
And speaking of mullets, he had the ultimate flow.
He did.
He might be your idol.
Well, I mean, the ladies did love him.
Oh, they did that. They did that.
Well, so Joey Gallo apparently was going to try to transition back to a pitcher. He started out as a pitcher.
Yeah.
And of course,
I think he threw hard.
Yeah, he threw like upper 90s.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love to get Joey Gallo on a minor league contract, go against the Rangers, bring him up for one game, and just let him shut out the Rangers. Gosh, that would make some of my Rangers friends upset. So my question is this: how much better can the Astros be if their situational hitting improves? Because they out-hit the Cardinals like 31-9 in this series. They got a lot, but the first game they were 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position,
which is good. They were very good. 5 for 11 is very good.
But they were 3 for 10 when they won 7-0, and then they were 2 for 11. It's interesting to me in baseball. You can have stat lines that are very weird and very odd. Like the other day, Hayden Wesneski gives up 3 solo shots. He gets the win. The Astros win, right?
Mhm.
You can out hit your opponent and you can lose by 5 runs.
Yes.
Baseball's just a sport like that when you think you had a good day at the ballpark, somebody probably had a better one. But with situational hitting, is that just watching that game and going on the next day and having a real short memory and moving forward? Or are there things that you're talking about with your coaches? What are
It
you
really
doing team-wise?
depends on the situation, because if your approach was right, your swing was right, you just didn't get the result, then yeah, you just move on. But if you didn't, you're swinging out of the zone. We saw, what was it, last night's game, Yainer Diaz with the bases loaded swing at a fastball that was, like literally chin high.
Yeah.
Okay, that means you're being overly aggressive. And so there may be a conversation there. But it's really an individual thing. What have we always said over the years when it comes to the Astros, or really anyone's offense, but we're talking Astros offense? Keep giving yourself those opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay. Tonight was frustrating because you were only 2 for 11 and you only scored 3 runs. If you score 5 or 6 runs and you go 2 for 11, you're okay with that. Okay. So it's a game by game individual type situation that you have to look at it. And, but as a coach or a manager or even a player, if you're putting together the quality at bat, if you're swinging at pitches in the zone and you're not getting the result, okay, you just keep going forward. But if you're over aggressive, if you're too passive, if you're taking too many strikes, whatever it may be, then maybe that needs to be addressed. But it's not something that just because you went 2 for 11, okay, we need to fix something, because you don't want to give off any kind of indication that you're panicked or you're upset, because in order for these players to go out and perform, they have to be cool, calm, and collected with their mental approach.
Yeah, that is really where the rubber meets the road, is with the mentality. And I remember hearing a coach, I believe it was the head women's volleyball coach for LSU. And, he said there's 2 different types of athletes. There's good athletes and there's great athletes. And he said the good athletes could have been great, but they couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't get past discouragement. He said, when I think of, and he said, it's so hard to think of as a coach, but when I think of all the players that they've coached and that they know had this amazing potential and could have been the best at their position, and they just could not get over discouragement. They couldn't get over their mistakes. He goes, think about every sport. He goes, we hear about the Babe Ruth and the Joe Montanas, and he was throwing all these names around. He said, but imagine how many more of those there could be if those people that were good became great by just getting over their mistakes. And he goes, and that's why there's a difference between good and great. It was a really good session on coaching and just like coaching young athletes.
Yeah.
And that's where this team has to go. They know who they are. They know what they can do. They just have to take it one step at a time. Jordan says, I don't change my approach. I always coach my athletes. It's the most important pitch is the one that's about to come to you.
Is the next one. Yeah.
Right. The next ball, like the next one is the most important. You just got to keep moving forward.
Physical attributes will take you so far. Okay. And when you're talking about Major League Baseball, maybe it takes you all the way to the major leagues. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you stick? Okay. That's where the mental side comes in. And most of the time, there used to be, you remember there was an old, it was say no to drugs. This is your brain.
Is your brain on drugs? With the fried egg.
That's kind of how it is in any sport. Well, actually, it's not even any sport. In any situation, is the brain gets in our way more than it ever helps us. I mean, you have somebody. You're a teacher. You have somebody that takes bad tests. Okay, is it because this particular student is intelligent? They work hard. They're not behind. They're just bad test takers.
Yeah.
Why? Well, the reason why is because you're thinking about everything but taking the test. Can you hear that clock ticking? Oh my gosh, I only have 20 minutes left. Yeah. How did that kid finish the test before I did? You're thinking about all these other things other than just working the problem in front of you. And that's how it is in sports also. You have all these potential distractions. And I talk to players all the time about this, on a daily basis, about this very thing, that everything is a distraction. But we have to be in the proper mental state to make sure we're focusing on what the job is. Again, this isn't just a sports thing. This is for anything. You're making a presentation. If you're thinking about what the boss at the end of the table is thinking about, instead of you putting forth your presentation, then you're just simply not going to make that presentation as good as what it could be.
Exactly. I remember. And I miss coaching Little League. I miss coaching young pitchers, because every time you always have the one or two pitchers on your team that they are your go-to guys. Like, when they go on the mound, okay, you just got to score 3-4 runs, you're going to win. And almost, these kids would have a meltdown a couple times a year. And I would go out there, I'd be like, I got a question. They go, what? I'm like, why do you drop in tilted towers when that's not the best place to drop in Fortnite? And they're like, what? or why? I was like, why is your favorite food spaghetti? I would just like throw them off, and they would just get out of their head.
I've had pitching coaches come up to me and ask me in the most pressure of situations, hey, where are you going to eat after the game? Yeah. What's your, where are you going? What are you going to do? You want to go have a drink? Whatever. And what he's doing is he's just trying to calm you down. He's trying to get you out of your own head. Maybe there's some shock value in there, but because listen, the worst place to be is deep inside your own head, because who knows what's going on in there.
Yeah, we don't want to know. I don't even know if I know what's going on.
What did Ace Ventura say about being in his head? That's someplace you really don't want to be.
Well, oh man, gosh, Jim Carrey was such a classic, man. We could go on and on, but Mike, this has been a great show.
Yeah.
We definitely need to come back, do it again soon. We'll be doing this at least twice a week, every week. And make sure that y'all subscribe to us. Tell everybody about us. We got to 1,000.
Everyone. Now we need about, 10 or 12,000 more.
Yeah. 50,000. Why not 50?
No pressure, folks. No pressure.
No pressure. I want that 100K. I want that 100K plaque from YouTube.
That's right.
So, hey,
we are now making tens and tens of cents.
Tens and tens of cents. Yes. It's those dang tariffs that's killing us right now. So
that's it.
So, all right, Michael. Hey, thank you, man. The Astros, they got the Royals, and guess what? The Royals got gifted with a doubleheader tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I think they were in rain delay a long time, and a day game.
Yeah. Yes,
so they
got
out.
2 games.
This is the worst situation, because they actually sat at the ballpark for hours and hours and hours. Then they canceled it. Now you have to come back and play a doubleheader tomorrow. Hang with them. Hopefully their whole pitching staff throws like 5 innings each.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Bobby Witt Jr. might get on the mound, right?
There you go.
Well, hey, you know what? I think maybe too, we need to reach out to some people and maybe bring on some more guests.
I agree.
So we're gonna talk to some other people. I know McTaggart was gonna join us at one point, but he was super busy with spring training.
Right at the end of spring training.
But yeah, we'll have to see what we can do with old Tags, bring him in and bring some others. But this is great conversation. Thank y'all for tuning in to Back to the Bullpen. Y'all have a good one. We love y'all. Thank y'all so much. Share us, like us, give us a super chat during the show. Whatever you can do to contribute, go buy a Back to the Bullpen shirt. Y'all have a good one, and we're out.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, he the low and but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool.